I'd rather regret the risk that didn't work out than the chances I didn't take at all. Simon Bliss. Welcome to the Guyana Dialogue. I'm your hostess, Shamiza Ali, and it is truly a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Good evening to everyone joining us on Facebook and YouTube. Tonight's topic is upgrading technical skills of Guyana to challenges of an economy in transportation. The Guyana Dialogue is being sponsored by a coordinating council of Guyanese based in the US, UK, Canada, Guyana, and the Caribbean. Funding support is by well-known philanthropist Dave Narain from Dave West Indian Imports. Please welcome my moderator for tonight, Dr. Tara Singh.
Thank you very much, Shamiza, and welcome to our viewers and all our panelists.
Our panelists tonight is Professor Muniram Budu and Professor Ganga Ramdas.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome. Our guest tonight is the Minister of Labor, the Honorable Joseph L.F. Hamilton. Welcome. Dr. Tara, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shamiza. Honorable Minister, we welcome you. I know I was trying to get you for the past couple of weeks, and you're always busy on assignment. I mean, in interior, some outlying district as all ministers, you're very busy. So we thank you very much. Before I start, I want to extend to the Hindu community our best wishes on the occasion of Navaratri. Minister, before we go into the subject, can you give us a rundown, a brief overview of labor relations in the country as a whole?
Well, the thing is, if you note, labor relations very quiet, I would say. I mean, the last 3 years you have not had regular strikes. They have had several issues that have come up between employers' representatives and employees' representative and employees and employers. And we were always quick to intervene and to mediate and to bring conclusion to matters. We came and met, that is, I came and met several issues. In some instances where companies refuse to speak with labor leaders. All of those are things of the past because we've been able to get them together. And I can say that we have been able to have several CLAs signed between labor unions and companies. So the front is quiet. Ever so often there are issues that come up. But once you're proactive, many times I intervene myself, but I have a very competent chief labor officer who is very much versed in the matters, and he has been able to bring people to the table and mediate and have them negotiate and come to conclusions and resolutions. And many outstanding collective labor agreements we have had companies sign with labor unions. So that but one of the important issue that, in my view, union leaders in their articulation of salary increases for staff, it was the important issue of health and safety, because I have argued It makes no sense that you can argue the case and the man can work for $5,000 an hour, and then next week he will die because he's working in an unsafe condition. So for me, the two things must go together when we're having a labor relations discussion.
Okay. Okay, Minister. Thank you very much. On another topic, since this is very a current situation with Troy Resources leaving Guyana, owing the government about $2.5 billion. What happened to these workers? What recourse do they have?
Well, what I can say to you is that we have engaged, and we were able to get this wages paid that were owed, severance and so to workers. As I speak to you, I don't know of any reports presently at the Ministry of Labor of outstanding payment for staff. They took a long time, and we were behind them, pushing them to ensure that people were paid. And every information that I have at my disposal, all the people who they had outstanding monies for, they were paid, but I stand corrected in the event there is any information out there that suggests that persons are owed. The issue about owing the state, if you follow, the Vice President made some comments on the matter, how we came to that place, and that's an issue that I know the Ministry of Natural Resources, they're focusing on, and also the Attorney General Chambers, to see how the government can recoup those funds via the assets that are still at the mining site.
Okay, and is there an update on Rusal, if they're coming back to open back the Kokani mines, bauxite?
What I know is that Rusal had engaged the government, because I was told so by my ministerial colleague, but then with the intention to return to Guyana. But then you have the issue that came up with the Ukraine-Russian war and the issue of sanctions and all those issues. So because the principals of the company, many of them were sanctioned by the US and the EU, and so that interest died with the new circumstances with the Ukraine-Russia war. So at the moment, there is no indication that Rusal will be returning to Guyana.
Do you know if these workers have been given alternative employment?
Well, most of the workers now are engaged. They have had new developments there. The road project that is happening at the moment, the Mabura Road project, I know they have employed a lot of people from Linden. I'm sure that many of those were persons who worked in bauxite, because they would need a lot of heavy duty equipment operating all of those issues. So there's a lot of changes, a lot of housing, infrastructure development, road programs, all of those things are happening. So I suspect that most, if not all, of the people are meaningfully engaged. Some might have gone into logging, because in the Kokwani, Itune area, you have a lot of logging concessions there run by companies, businesses that are basically cooperative type businesses.
A couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the unemployment rate was about 12%. You have an idea what's the unemployment rate now is in Guyana?
The thing is, you know, unemployment rate, we have to be careful about the number. And I'm saying that because a lot of times when a person say they're unemployed, it is not because they cannot find employment. As I speak to you, in all sectors at the moment, there are needs for labor. Just yesterday, one of the companies who are involved in trucking, they put an advertisement out for 20 truck drivers. In the case of the Indian company, they had to bring in several dozen truck drivers out of India, the people who are doing the Ogle 4-lane highway. So the issue about unemployment is not so much that jobs are not available. Well, a lot of people they're looking for their favorite job or the job that they think that suits them the best. Added to that, there are a lot of people who have certificates that the job market don't have the demand for those type of qualification. And that is the reason why at a level of this, we have to pay attention to education delivery. That's an important matter, because we have to question whether many of the things we encourage young people to study, whether those things are jobs of the future. For that matter, some of them are not even jobs of the present, because I can tell you, the ILO did a study in oil and gas in conjunction with the ministry. And the 11 most important and needed professions are different to what Guyanese were accustomed to. The second most important profession in this sector is occupation safety and health officers. So logistics and all of those things. So the labor landscape is changing. So parents, teachers, they have to keep up with what is happening. And we have to encourage and have children to be more enthusiastic, to participate in technical areas, technical skills. Those are the skills that are needed as I speak to you.
Thank you, Minister. Now I pass you on to Professor Budu.
Minister, good to see you. Please talking about skills. What are the top 3 occupational needs you have?
Well, the top 3 occupation needs. Well, they have several that are competing. It all depends which sector you're.
Let's look at all. Let's look at the 3 main ones. Say oil and gas.
Oil and gas, the top skills. The top skills, welding and fabrication, top skill. I just indicated that in the 11 top skills, you had occupation safety and health and environmental services. You have logistics planner. So those are, and you know, they're not deliberate training programs. As I know, for like the logistics program. So the education delivery, we have to pay attention to as a nation.
No, you said this ILO report, that's the 2022 20
Yes,
report. Because they listed, say, engineering professional as being the top 15%.
Yes, but I'm saying I think the second most important skill was occupation safety and health environmental technicians, a profession.
Yeah. And then there's a third one they have was ship deck crews that they need, you know. And so when we talk about unemployment rate, you have to, and you were saying that some people don't want to work or don't have the skill set. You have to provide training. So are you providing these training? If so, where, how, and who provides this training?
Well, the thing is, we are providing a lot of training. I can say to you, 3 years of the People's Progressive Party civic stewardship, and I'm just dealing with my ministry. I couldn't speak in a definitive way about what the education ministry is doing regarding technical vocational education. I can speak for the Ministry of Labor, the Board of Industrial Training in 3 years, we have trained nearly 10,000 persons in all different skill sets. Some of them are new skill sets that are new to the labor market. I give you one. Fiber optic cable technician. That's a new skill set. Just 2 years ago, we started up that program. You have the solar PV technician program. That's a new skill set. So a lot of skill sets that are new we have introduced, but just to give you context, we are moving from a place where under Granger government, the average amount of persons they trained via the Board of Industrial Training was about 1,300, maximum 1,500. We are now training over 3,000 persons per year. Based on the 3 years, we have already trained nearly 10,000 persons, and we still have graduation to go. So we're playing catch up, but I think we are doing well from where we started. The other important issue when we're talking about skills training is the female factor in this matter. Getting women enthusiastic to participate in these sectors, getting women enthusiastic to be trained in technical areas, because, you know, historically they were shut out of many of these professions because society saw it as man's work. The reality is half of the population, more than half for that matter, the last census, are females. So we have to bring females into the fore to be trained. And I can tell you that at the level of the Board of Industrial Training, more than 50% of the people we have trained over the 3 years are females in all different skill sets.
Yeah. Now, since the PVP took office, how much has unemployment decreased? Because you just mentioned about the Granger government, you know, so I'm looking at how much you guys have done in just a short period.
I think, for that matter, I think the CLO sent me a report because at the moment I'm preparing a presentation. And I think the number at the time of the census, that information I think you got from the Bureau of Statistics, is somewhere around 14%. But I'm saying again, it's not a real number, because whilst we talk about that number, I am saying to you that the government program, private sector programs are facing problems of shortage of technical skills. So a lot of time when a man said he is unemployed, it is not because he or she cannot find employment. It is because they are looking for the job that they think best suits them. But you know, I grew up in the age and time, and I'm sure Dr. Tara Singh and all you gentlemen, where we were taught by our parents and grandparents to find a damn job. Your job that you're seeking will come, but you need to find a job so that you can at least take care of yourself, and if you have a family, take care of your family. So again, I'm making this point. When you look at the number, as Minister of Labor, I'm saying it's not a real number, because I know about the skills shortage. I know about all the construction companies that are in trouble regarding people, the masons, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, whatever, that they cannot find to execute programs. I know of people who are doing infrastructure work who struggle to get heavy duty equipment operators that are skilled to execute. I just said to you that as I speak to you, we were sent, because we have a placement arm, as you know. One company is requesting 20 truck drivers right now. You know, so it is reshaping and rechanging the society and its thinking as to the jobs of the future and retailoring our education delivery to have people trained for the jobs of the future. So the conversation is beyond, the conversation must be, it must go beyond whatever the unemployment rate is.
Yeah, because in that same report, I think they reported that youth unemployment is about 31.9%, which is very high.
And again, I'm saying, it's not a real number.
Right. I agree with you, but these are the numbers out there. You see, and
yeah. I'm not contending that these are not the numbers the report showed up, but I'm saying that the numbers are not real because on the other side, you have hundreds of vacancies that exist in all sectors as I speak to you.
Yeah, Minister, some countries in the similar labor shortage situation choose, say, manage immigration of specialized labor and skills. Is the government planning to do so?
Well, we have, what I can tell you, that is a conversation that we have been having. The Ministry of Labor, we are tasked to come up with a framework that we are working on. We have sought some help from the ILO in that regard. The first phase of the program we want, and we have said to the ILO, that we need to know via a study what really is and what really we will need. There are all kinds of numbers that are out there that in my view are not so much studied numbers. The love of the government, we want numbers that are studied numbers, and we have said to the ILO, the first phase of the project, because the project was putting together a framework for managed migrant labor program. But we cannot get there unless we know in a definitive way, somewhat, what we have and what we're short of that we might have to bring into the country. You follow?
Yes. Okay. Now, you have a large number of construction activities, basically infrastructure work going on. Now, are your occupational health and safety laws and regulations up to date? And do you have enough inspectors and resources for enforcement?
Well, I was just saying to you, look, because of how we tailor education delivery, many young people don't even know that that is a profession that exists. You follow me?
Yeah.
They don't even know. Most companies in Guyana, they operated without taking on what they saw that as an expense. What was good and what has helped in all circumstances regarding that specific matter is the fact that the oil and gas sector came to Guyana. And so all companies, they had to put themselves in order to reach a certain standard to participate, because they even couldn't buy the tender documents. So what you find now, companies who a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, they even consider the need for a health and safety officer. Some of them, they have 2 and 3 because it has become an important matter. As regards legislation, all the labor legislation we are reviewing. We have made recommendations for change, and we have been having conversation with the Attorney General Chamber. So there's a recognition that we need to modernize all the legislation, labor, occupation, safety, and health. We have to have a special regime with OSH regards the oil and gas sector, because the OSH Act we have did not consider at all at that time oil and gas. So those conversations are happening. We have sought technical help from ILO, and we are working to refine, to amend, to bring in place new regulations to manage the labor sector.
Mhm. But Minister,
All
just
right.
going back to the
Thank you,
point that you're
Minister.
saying that a lot of
Sure.
Guyanese are not aware of the employment opportunities available in the various sectors. You have what information campaign you have to inform Guyanese of these types of jobs and the training available?
No, I don't think they're not aware. You know,
Mhm.
I'm making the point that
Mhm.
um, some people, I'll give you this. Some people want the jobs closest to them.
Mhm.
Some people are not like us from the old school,
Mhm.
who, whilst we're looking for the job that equals or equal our GCE,
Mhm.
we were taught to find a job.
Yep.
So we worked. When we left school, is either we were furthering our studies or we went to work.
Yeah.
So that is so it's not that the information is not out there, but I'm saying people they have preference for jobs. Some of them, the qualification they have, the labor market don't have the job for the person with that type of qualification, because the labor market has changed and is changing, and it will change rapidly.
Yeah.
And therefore, the important conversation as a nation we must have is how we deliver education.
Yeah.
So,
All
so
right.
those are relevant things to this
Yeah.
conversation.
Let's. Thank you, Minister. Let's move on to Professor Ganga Prasad, Ganga Ramdas.
Uh, Hello, Minister Hamilton. Nice to
Good
see
night,
you.
sir. Pleasure.
Um, I like your words, find a job. In that regard, we must take an educational pipeline approach. That means that we need to look at the types of requirements or the type of opportunities we need to go after. So I break it down into two parts. They're the soft skills and they're the hard skills.
Yes.
It looks like we're doing well with the soft skills, uh, producing managers and leaders and so forth. But with regard to the hard skills, we need to take this pipeline approach and put more responsibilities to the private sector. You are shouldering maybe too much. Maybe you can mobilize them. When you mobilize them, they would know how to organize training and workshops and labs and maybe create new businesses like you talk about truck drivers. If you go down the New Jersey Turnpike in the US, there are places there with all kinds of vehicles where they train the drivers, and that's run by the private sector. This is what they need to do. My father had 3 trucks, so I know what it is to find drivers and how to manage that small business. There are times when they have to step in and train the drivers. In other areas like health and education, and I'm glad you mentioned the safety and health. That's part of the environment. We need to train the trainers and make them more sensitive to the various requirements there. So that's a big star, a big plus for bringing in the environment through health and safety. So I would say that we need to move along the pipeline, which means that we go through the various levels of education, starting from high school and going up to the university levels. So, with that approach, we can identify the pockets of needs and then build special modules as a crash course to help and facilitate the private sector, because in my opinion, there are business opportunities for training through the private sector. They can adopt technical institutes I saw the Government Technical Institute. My brothers taught there, and that's the first place where you find a job. Go and teach others. I did the same thing. I'm sure you did the same thing. You from BV, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh yes, my grandparents are from there, so we have the same cultural orientation to finding a job. My aunt, she taught commercial for 52 years as a professional person with a commercial education. So there are different systems within the labor markets that private entrepreneurs can avail themselves and do much better. But you have to sensitize the private sector. The private sector is not just Georgetown, it's in the villages as well. Some of those from the village could come to the city, maybe, or the president said he's moving the government to the people. Well, this whole mobilization could be part of that initiative where you provide training. That's a good way to mobilize parts of the labor force and involve more of the private businesses and partnerships. They can invest some money in those areas. In the States, if I want to open a new program, I'll write a proposal and go to companies and get it funded. And this goes for all types of education, transportation in particular. We had a summer transportation program, all sorts of transport, everything that moves, from hairpin to a battleship, everything there. I got it funded through the private sector and got speakers, got technical people to come and assist. It's not just the responsibility of government or your ministry. There's the education pipeline, there's the curriculum, there are the inputs, there are the ways to enhance the training. The training can be enhanced in technical education, computers, but it has to be done correctly. Uh, the, okay, just one last
Well,
question.
let me
Point.
say this. Let me say a couple of things here.
Yeah.
Look, you know, uh, colonies, we're coming from a culture where we were taught and trained that everybody should be an academic and everybody should be white collar type. And therefore, what is considered blue collar or jobs, the society looked down on that. So that is where we're coming from, and we have not gotten out of it yet. For me, I would say that we have to make technical education and training and as prominent as academic education. That's a starting point. All the things we're talking about are for now. I'm looking at it long term, because if we just do this patching, we would have to keep patching all the time, right? So the issue is making technical and vocational education and work as prominent, as important, and as respected as white collar jobs, as they say in the United States. That's the first point. The second issue is that we are working and we have partners in the private sector that deals with training regarding the apprenticeship program. And we are having conversations with many of the companies in oil and gas to effect training as regards apprenticeship training in the oil and gas sector. So that, but all of those are things that are happening now, they're new. And look, we have to play catch up because we came and met really next to nothing in that regard. Look, Guyana found oil in 2015. Oil production started in 2019, but the government at that time, they paid no attention to the aspect of technical training for the sector and the other sectors that will be attached to the oil and gas sector. So the PPP civic government, we have to play catch up, and we have to do so much because of the deficit that existed. Importantly, you know, I just came back from a Dominican Republic. I was at a conference dealing with the same issues because a lot of South American and Caribbean countries, they face the same issues about skills deficit. And the Swedish people who are supporting the Dominican Republic and the Spanish they, more so the Swedish people, after secondary school, before you get to university, you have to do a technical program. And you get credit. So if the program university was 4 years, you get 1 year credit for the technical program. But a person don't move straight from secondary school and end up at the university. So apprenticeship program is a useful tool they have used to build their technical and professional framework in Sweden. And that is what they are loaning that type of skill set to the Dominican Republic. And they are doing very well in this part of the world because they have adopted new and different methodologies as regards technical, the importance of technical training in the secondary school system. And that is where we have to go to deal with the problem we have in medium term and long term. Short term, we can just speak about finding labor force to satisfy the needs. But we have to go beyond that as a country.
I would agree with you. We need to match our jobs with the labor force. And in that regard, we need information to be disseminated down to the village level so that more people would know where to go to find a job, what to do, and what the path is to enhance one's skills. So that should be clear to everybody, not just around Georgetown. And
no, just to say this, my good friend, since 2020, we have expanded the Ministry of Labor. In every region, you have labor offices. So the Central Recruitment and Manpower Agency, which is a placement arm of the ministry, is in every region as I speak to you. In some instances, we have 2 offices in region. So the point you just raised about engagement and training and development and coaching for jobs, all of that we are doing. Informing people, for that matter, we have moved beyond paper-based. We have a platform, a job bank, where any person looking for a job, they can go on and register, and companies can place their advertisements and that kind of thing. And we have been able to place hundreds of people in jobs via the job bank. So many things are happening as regards dealing with both issues, the skills deficit and placement of people in jobs. Importantly, I have said to the private sector that private sector companies, and they have to do like the Chinese. Every major construction program the Chinese they have, they set up accommodation on the premises. Because the skills you're looking for might not be in the region. So if you have to bring it in from a region, let us say a big project in region 4, and you need some specific skill, and you can find them in region 2 or region 1 or 10. The first question people will ask, where am I going to live? So projects now must have attached to them, and I've said that to private sector people, accommodation for staff. That is how you'll be able to deal with some of the skills deficit issues. Because whilst you have one region that might have a deficit of a specific type of skill, in another region, you might have several persons looking for jobs.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Minister Hamilton. Dr. Taro, we will move on to the next section, which is the challenges in transportation.
No, not transportation. It's transformation. Transformation.
Okay.
Okay. All right, but Dr. Gunner, you want to finish your point and then we move on?
Yes, I was wondering why, what's the connection with the Ministry of Education, since we're dealing with skills and institutes and so forth. I think we need to mobilize or make some connections there and then get to the curriculum across the country.
No, the thing is there is a relationship. There is something that is called the TVET Council that is under the Ministry of Education that should be paying attention in some regards to skill development. The Ministry of Labor, we have the Board of Industrial Training. We have now started to, we are working together in some regard. But I think for what is developing and happening, we are not fast enough to deal with it. So that's the issue, you know. But there's a recognition at the level of the government that we have to resolve the problem regarding the matters we are discussing that are before us.
I think Government Technical Institute comes under the TVET program, Ministry of Education.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
In speaking about training, I know you tend to localize the training. You go into specific areas. Can you name some of those areas that you conduct your skills training?
You're talking about in the regions?
Yeah, in the regions, yeah.
Okay, well, as I speak to you, every region and every sub-region in Guyana, training has been executed that where it never existed. The far reaches of Deep South Rupununi, Central Rupununi, North Rupununi, Madhya, up in the mountains, Keto and Kurukubaru, Paramakatoy, we come to Region 7, Upper Mazaruni, the Baltic area and the Mazaruni River, and we come to Region 6, the far reaches of Orial and Separuta, east bank of the Borbis River. 5, similar, Region 4, all the Georgetown, East Coast, East Bank. Region 3, programs at Wickenham and Carriacari, and so in the river itself and on the coast. Region 4, similar thing on the coast and programs in Pomeroon River in all the villages you could think about it. Region 1, whether it's Mabaruma, Port Kaituma, Moruca programs. Region 9, 10, Linden and its environs, the Demerara River and the Borbis River, Aichuni, Kokwani area. So every place that we could talk about in Guyana, training has happened and continue to happen as I speak to you. We still have training, some of them winding down now for graduation, and so because year end is coming. So I started out by making the point that we have moved from a number of average 1,300 under the greater government, 1,300 per year, to where in 3 years we have done nearly 10,000, average over 3,000 a year. And that is because the program has been expanded into areas where the previous government never even ran one program, much less several.
Mhm. Okay, there are a number of Venezuelans who inhabit various regions. They may have technical skills, but the language will be a barrier. Does your training take this into account? Do you have anybody who can speak Spanish?
Well, as I speak to you, we are having discussion with UNHCR to deal with that specific matter. We have said to them that the first phase of the training must be English language program, and we are working on that to present to them a budget for that training to be done before we can get into the technical training. So yes, that is a consideration about technical training and certifying and accrediting migrants that are in Guyana. Another important area is Guyanese who are skilled, who are not accredited nor neither certified. So we will have a training center that work is being done as I speak to you in Unity Maika, where the intention is to have people go to that center, upskill them, retrain them for certification and accreditation. All of these people we have, whether masons, carpenters, plumbers, electricians in Guyana, because many of them very shortly will not be able to go on certain work sites because the contract might say only a accredited or certified plumber or electrician can work on the site. So recognizing that, we have established, we are working to establish this facility in Unity. As I speak to you also, the Ministry of Labor, for the first time, the Board of Industrial Training, we will be erecting training centers. Two are being built in Region 6, one in Amsterdam, one in Corriverton. We have a training center at the top of in Bartica. And as I speak to you, we are having conversation with the gold mining company that is taking over where OMI used to be, at OMI there, to see if we can get into a partnership whereby we can train and upskill people at our training center, specifically for the Reunion, I think is a company, gold mines in the OMI area. So there's a lot of things that are happening. So it's not just training people who don't have a skill. We also have to ensure that those persons who have a skill, we can take them to the place where they're certified and accredited.
Okay, my final question before I pass you on. I know we got a few more minutes. I read the BIT report for 2022, and it is stated there that about 75% of the people who you train are gainfully employed. Either 75 or 80% are, that is good because you can train, and after training, they might not necessarily get a job. So that's on the right track. Now, Dr. Ganga, your last question, and Professor Budu, the last question.
I'm
to the
very
Minister.
pleased that you have an apprenticeship program. We need to move in that direction with hands-on and lab-based type training. That's all consistent. So that's very good initiatives that you have undertaken. And of course, to disseminate, you mentioned the regional offices. That's also very welcome. I think you're on the right track, and the emphasis should be technical institute, hands-on, and engage the private sector more. Don't let everything fall on your shoulders. There are opportunities there for them to do stuff, especially with transportation. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Professor Budu.
Yeah. Minister, just going back to the point that you're raising, getting people interested in the sub-professional technical area. I think the bottom line in all this, in my many years in education and training, is pay grade. If the payment is attractive, you can get a lot of people coming in to that profession. Now, I want to raise another issue here, and this is much more forward-looking and in terms of transformation that is taking place in Guyana. You know, AI and quantum computing are here. I mean, and this will disrupt the labor market. Are you making any plans or have any policy in place that are thinking about this in for this disruption to occur?
Yes. At the level of the government, we have discussed the matter. For that matter, in the public sphere, the president has spoken to and about the matter. That in everything we do, we have to take into consideration the AI and its effect on society. So yes, that is a matter that the government is paying attention to. The other matter is digitization, which is an important matter to make accessing services easier. You know that we have signed a contract with a company to develop a one card in Guyana that will feed into educational services, will feed into people medical services and medical records and all that kind of. So, and then at the level of investments and so the one-stop shop where investors will have all their information and all the things they have to sign and know at one place. So digitization and AI, yes, those are things that the government we are discussing. And in the case of digitization, we have moved forward with some specific programs as regards digitizing.
Now, one last question here. Is child labor a problem in Guyana? If so, what are the issues and how are you dealing with them?
I don't think, my experience, child labor is not a major issue in Guyana. And we have been responding to the reports coming out to the U.S. State Department. You know, they do that yearly report. When I became minister, I learned that there were some incidents in the Pomeroon River. I went in there myself and I dealt with it. And I haven't heard any major reports coming out of the Pomeroon River where there were incidents, because I experienced and witnessed incidents of child labor on the coconut plantation. Now, one of the issues we have to deal with is the indigenous warriors that have rushed over from Venezuela. There are some issues there and that we have to deal with in Region 1 in the Pomeroon River. But as regards child labor incidents in Guyana, like you see around the world, as Minister of Labor, I have not experienced that. Neither have I had reports of that sort.
Thank you very much. Shamisa?
Okay. One final question, Minister. Do you have a workman compensation fund set up by the government or private enterprise or a joint fund between private sector and state? If a workman
No, as I speak to you, people depend on the national insurance. That is where you can say is a compensation fund that they pay into and their employer pay into. But there isn't a specific fund outside that national insurance.
Do you see the need for a separate workman compensation fund apart from the NIS?
Well, those are futuristic, I would say, conversation. You have people who have now put before us. I think the labor unions now they're talking about what you call it, like they have in the United States, where you're out of a job and the government
unemployment benefits.
Unemployment benefits. So all of these conversations are happening around. The government at the level of policy, we are paying attention to all of these conversations, but there is no policy decision as I speak to you
All right.
to effect those things.
Thank you very much, Minister Shamiza. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Tara. Thank you to our entire panel for tonight's questions and interaction, and thank you to all of our viewers. Minister Hamilton, we will now ask you for your your closing remarks.
Okay, let me say this, and many people who are listening, Guyanese who live overseas. I would say this. When I became minister, I was asked by a journalist about how I feel being a minister in the government at this juncture in Guyana. And I said to them, and I'm saying it too, so that young people can understand, that is the first time as a citizen of Guyana, all the dreams and aspirations and the thing we hope for, you can feel it, touch it, taste it, and see it. And therefore, I will say to young people, all the opportunities that you yearn for are before you. Take advantage of them. If you fail, though, you will have no one else to blame but yourself. And many times in my lectures, when I speak to people, I make the point that you can fail any other person, you can let down any other person, but you can't afford to let down yourself. And that is what I want to say. There are opportunities out there, all different types of opportunities, to become whatever you want to become. And a lot of times when I speak to you, I make the point to young people deliberately that I'm just an ordinary country boy, and that's an important thing. Because for me, life is not where you started, where you want to end the life. And I'm sure Dr. Tara and the other professors and so, I'm sure, even without knowing them, I know we have had the same experience in life, coming from humble beginnings. And we have not let life and circumstances and stop us from moving forward and developing ourselves and doing the best we can. And that is what I say to the generations after us. We didn't have gold spoon and silver spoon, and I speak us country people. And we did everything possible to make it, and they must take pattern. More so in this time when they have opportunities. The opportunities that they have, we didn't have them. And we still find a way to navigate and to succeed. So that is what I would want to leave with viewers, more so young people, and that is why I want to leave with children, to keep instilling in their parents, rather, to instill in their children.
That is great advice, and it is needed now more than ever in the world that we live in. So thank you very much, Mr. Hamilton. Thank you to our entire panel and to our viewers. Thank you for being a part of the Guyana Dialogue this evening. To all of our Hindu brothers and sisters, a very blessed Navratri to all of you.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Pleasure being here.
Thank you, Minister.
Until next time, this is the Guyana Dialogue, and I'm your hostess, Shamisa Ali. Good evening, everyone.